It is traditionally a male-dominated industry, but Margret Lomas has carved out her own niche and is now regarded as one of the most respected property experts in Australia. She's written 4 best-selling books on the topic, and she's also a very active property investor herself. I spoke to Margaret about her success, both as an entrepreneur and as a property investor. Margaret, thanks for joining us on Wealth Creator today.
You're welcome.
Can you give us a bit of an overview about what you do and what you're involved with?
Okay, I guess there's 3 different areas that I'm personally involved in. The first one is my business, which is called Destiny Financial Solutions, and we're perhaps fairly unique in our field. We are like a financial advising company, except we've chosen to help people to buy property. I've also written a number of books on property investing, because I think that the biggest mistake that people make when they buy property as an investment is that they don't treat it like an investment. They buy property differently than they buy other kinds of investments. And we want to be able to teach people that there is a right way and a wrong way to buy property, and that you can buy property despite its underlying market successfully and safely all of the time. And I guess personally I'm a property investor myself. My husband and I now have 21 properties that we've purchased over the years using exactly the same principles that we teach other people to use.
So where did the passion for property actually start from?
Well, I guess I had a fairly typical life when I was a little bit younger. I had 3 children, I was married, I was trying to make ends meet like most people do, and probably not doing so terribly effectively. I didn't really think about my own future. I didn't think about what was going to happen to me when I retired, and like most people, I guess my husband and I had too much week left at the end of our money, so we struggled on with a job, trying to pay off a mortgage and not really thinking about where we were headed and what was going to happen to us in the future. And I went through a divorce and the things that a lot of people will go through in their 30s, married again, and more or less woke up one day and said to myself, you know, I'm done with that. I'm done with having to struggle financially. I'm done with not thinking ahead. I'm done with not having any financial goals. And I really wanted to set about putting together some kind of a plan for myself that would result in us actually being able to retire at some time in the future without having to worry about getting a pension or where our money was going to come from. So I started to read. I think a lot of people begin their own journeys in that same way. I started to read whatever I could find, and I was particularly taken by books about property. I liked property. I guess like most people, I felt it was something that I could understand well. I was born in property, I was raised in property, and it didn't seem like it needed any great financial or entrepreneurial skills at the time to invest in property, and it was something that was reasonably accessible. But I also knew that I needed to be well educated before I embarked on a property portfolio of my own. And I was very frustrated that there wasn't a lot of information out there to help me to do it well.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the books that you've written?
My clients had said to me, you explain things so well and so easily that you should write a book one day, and so I did. And I was able to combine, I guess, my love of writing, which is one of the skills that I have, with my newfound knowledge on property investing. So I wrote the first book, which is called How to Make Your Money Last As Long As You Do, and that's really for people who are just starting out on their investing life. Of course, after I wrote this book, and it had been on the shelves for about a year, I learned more in that 12 months than I'd ever known before, just from helping others and from continuing to buy property myself. And it wasn't long before I knew I needed to write another book. So How to Create an Income for Life came next. How to Create an Income for Life is really the A to Z guide on buying positive cash flow property. It's everything you could ever want to know about buying property in every state of Australia, including conveyancing laws, what the bank will do for you, and how you should set up your loans most effectively. Once I'd written that book, I realised that people wanted to know more again, and you know how you get people who just want to know more than their accountants know. They want to know everything, and there were some things I hadn't written about in the previous books, more comprehensive purchasing structures and more comprehensive tax structures. So I wrote How to Maximise Your Property Portfolio for those people who don't necessarily want to rely on their accountant and they want to know everything themselves. So it's another good one. If you've got a portfolio of properties already, this is the one that you should read. After I'd done all of that, a lot of people emailed me and said, look, it's great, I've read the whole 3 properties, but what I've needed to do from that is I've needed to sit down, put it all into a step-by-step guide so that I can actually buy the property. So then I thought, well, I really should write that book too. And I wrote the Pocket Guide to Investing in Positive Cash Flow Property, which you use once you understand the concepts, once you've read the other books and you know what it is you're about to do. This is a checklist. Every one of the 4 books comes with free software that you can download from the internet. The software contains a whole lot of calculators. It'll help you to ascertain whether a property is a positive cash flow property or not.
So Margaret, surely buying property is not that hard. So what are some of the areas where people go wrong?
The biggest mistake that people make is they buy property that they like or feel good about without ever asking any of the important questions that you need to ask about a property to ensure its long-term viability and success. And so I've developed the 20 questions that you have to ask about every property that you ever buy, and those questions force you into a process that enables you to check out more about the viability of the property, more about important things like who is going to live there, what does that area offer in terms of infrastructure, does it have the right demographics, population growth, future demand, is the economics right in the area? Because unless we know all of those things, we could buy a property that might look good and feel good, but at the end of the day nobody's going to rent it from you because you didn't ask the right questions in the first place.
So just finally, if people want to get hold of your books, whereabouts can they go to get them?
All of the good bookstores in the country are meant to stock them. Sadly, they're often out of stock. I guess people go in and buy them and they don't restock them quickly enough. So try your local bookstore. But if you can't get them there, you can go to our website.
Well, Margaret, thanks very much for joining us on Wealth Creator today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back with more on Wealth Creator right after this.